everybody, I am Rebecca Cook. I am from Bella Pilates, and today I wanted to make a video especially for one of my clients, but when I make these videos you are able to benefit too. So this is something specifically for one of my clients that is a little bit tight in her backside, her low back and her thoracic spine, and so we're working to help her get more of a C curve, more of a posterior pelvic tilt in her lower lumbar, and then also open up underneath her shoulder blades and her rib cage in the thoracic spine area. Another issue is that there is possibly a tight pelvic floor. So we're going to start with that. You want to have a ball that is a ball that has a resistance so it won't pop. This particular ball that I have from Urban Fit, they are not sponsoring this. I just mentioned them because their ball, you can sit on it and be up to 650 pounds and still sit on this and it will not burst. And so that's something that I use here in the studio. We're actually going to sit on this ball. So you are going to, it's going to feel kind of odd. You're going to be not so sure if it's going to pop, but if it is an anti-burst, it will not. You just need to be careful. I'm going ahead and placing a little box under my feet because my Cadillac is so high off the floor that my feet were going to be dangling. So you want your feet flat on the floor. And while we're here, we're going to be sitting here for about 5 minutes. I'm going to check the clock. We want to take some nice deep breaths, okay? So we want to inhale and exhale. If you're at home, you can do this while you're watching TV or reading a book or just listening to the radio, maybe sipping your coffee in the morning, but you want to be able to have a focus on your breath. So the pelvic floor is in several layers. It attaches to your two sits bones. Those are the bones that are bony prominences on the underside of your tush. And then it also attaches in the front to your pubis bone and then also in the back to your tailbone. So you have these 4 points that it attaches to. My client in particular is having some issues around her sits bones where she's got some tight fascia in there, I believe. And so we want to actually start releasing her pelvic floor before we actually strengthen her pelvic floor. So that is the case, amazingly, with most people. And as women, we are told to do Kegels, strengthen the pelvic floor. And although we may need some strengthening, most people are actually tight in their pelvic floor. So we actually need to release those first. And this may seem like just a boring thing to do, is sitting on a ball. But what I want you to focus on while you're sitting on this ball is I want you to inhale deep breath, and what's going to naturally happen is your sits bones are going to sort of widen and open up. And then on the exhale, you can just feel them kind of gently move back towards one another. Inhale again. And exhale. Now there might not be that much movement, but I'm just moving my hands pretty wide to give you an idea of the opening that you would feel and then the contraction in that you would feel. And that's just sort of the natural movement of that pelvic floor when you breathe. The other thing that happens is the pelvic floor, we should really call it sort of a pelvic diaphragm. Our diaphragm up here is a dome shape, and the pelvic floor or pelvic diaphragm is sort of a dome shape, or some people call it like a little butterfly wings that are opened up. So when we inhale, it kind of spreads out and opens up, and on the exhale, it contracts in, pulls in, and there's just this slight lift. So I like the cue when we exhale of inhale, we let them spread. Exhale, we're just letting this little elevator come up towards the belly button, but it's not going to come up all the way. Inhale, open. And exhale. Inhale, open. And exhale. and you just continue that breathing while you're sitting on this ball. You may start to notice some things if we actually had our belly exposed. I've watched a video of this where people may have prolapse or even some diastasis recti going on, and you can start seeing things changing in their fascial wall. There's like healing that's happening from releasing these areas in your pelvic diaphragm. So the fascia that comes up and encases your entire abdominal wall, goes all the way around, also encases that pelvic floor. And so it's directly related. If you have some tightness down here in your pelvis, it may be affecting some things that are going on up here as well. And so you'll have healing all the way around. Right now, I'm almost at 5 minutes. And honestly, I can feel my entire underside. It feels more melted over the ball. It feels more relaxed. If you would like to add on some pelvic tilts with your inhale forward, you're anteriorly tilting, exhale back, you could do that. You could get just a little bit of rocking back and forth, or you can rock a little side to side just to feel that relaxation just a little bit more, particularly if you have some tightness around the sits bones area. But if you just want to rest on that ball, that is just fine. Okay, we have about 5 minutes on that ball, so we're going to remove that now. And we're actually going to do a strengthening exercise, and this is again, not necessarily a series that I would give to everyone. This was particular to this client. I want her to work the front side of her body. We have gone over the teaser move, and we do a modification with that. So that's something she's working on. Now she may want to work up to this just a little bit and not go right into it, but I'm going to go into it with this series right now. We're going to inhale the arms up and behind towards the head, but not behind her ears. Inhale, deep breath. Exhale to rise up and curl. We're going to come all the way up and come into a modified teaser position. Now in this position, if you can lengthen the spine a little bit, great. And then we're going to curl slowly, slowly with control, shoulders down to come down, and you're trying to place the feet and the upper body down. And again, we're reaching up and lifting. We're holding here, lengthening the inside of the spine, and then exhaling, lowering down with control, relaxing the arms. Inhale the arms up, and exhale to lift. So we're just going to start out with 4 of these. You can go ahead and try to lengthen the legs if you would like. That's going to be a whole lot of quad work, more stability here, and then you can lower down, bending the knees. A more advanced teaser would be to just keep the legs straight on the way down and on the way up. But we're just doing modified right now. And exhale, lower, nice and slow. So that's our teaser. We're trying to squeeze those inner thighs together as we do that, and we're down. Next, we're going to roll up, and we're going to get into rolling like a ball, okay? So you want to go to the front of your mat. You want to squeeze your inner thighs together and the feet together. We want to round our low back. So this is not a dumping down and just rolling the shoulders forward. We want to open up and scoop out our belly, looking towards our inner thighs. We're going to roll back, coming up and balancing. Now we want to try not to throw our head back, lengthen our legs up to try to help us, or pull in with our arms. We want to just keep that shape, and we're sucking in our transverse and then using it as we come up to balance. Inhale back. Trying to maintain that ball-like shape. We're only rolling onto the shoulder blades. Let's try one more. So you might only start out with 4, but you can go all the way up to 6 or 8 of those. We want to make sure that we realize in that exercise that you may have some training wheels that you have to put on. You might be using your legs a little bit at first, but our goal, our end goal, is to try to remove those training wheels and really use our powerhouse to take the body back and up. That's gonna really give you a nice massage along your spinal erectors, so we help naturally relax those. Okay, after you complete your rolling like a ball, you're going to go ahead and come down onto your back. Now, not everyone is going to be able to do this exercise. We have some people that have low back issues. If you have something like herniated discs, you don't want to be doing this. Stenosis, again, this is not a safe exercise for you, but I know that this is safe for my client and that she's able to do overhead. Now, this is a modified overhead, so what we want to do is place our hands next to us. We want to raise our legs up, extend the legs if we can, push with the back of our arms, and use our low belly to come up and over. So here's our overhead. You're going to place your hands behind you and really lengthen up the back of your spine. Now, I have her curl her knees in. She's nice and lifted in the low back, and she's still on her shoulder blades, not her neck. She's going to slightly twist her legs to the right, so her knees are coming towards the right. If she bends them a little bit more, she's going to feel this nice stretch on the right side of her back. So she's feeling it in her quadratus lumborum muscles that are on your backside, also those right side spinal erectors. She can move around a little bit to find that nice stretch. Then she's going to rotate her legs to the left. She notices that she doesn't feel it as much on this side, but she still wants to go to this side and feel that, because the brain will know that, okay, this is how it should feel on the other side, and you're giving it an idea of where it should be. There we go. And then we go back to the right side. That's her tight side, and we'll let that rest. So you can do these back and forth as long as you're able to. You can hold for 4 seconds at a time, or you can hold it for a longer period of 20 to 30 seconds at a time. It's totally up to you. And then when you're done, you come back to center, and you can do your little rolling like a ball to come back up. Okay, so that's a little stretch for her. The next little stretch that I'm giving her is something for the groin area. So this is kind of a silly stretch to get into. You want to make sure that you're actually on the floor. It's going to be a lot easier, and perhaps on a surface where you're not going to get bunched up. It might be harder on some carpets and things, but you're going to slowly put your hands in front of you and let your knees slide out to the side to where you can. Some people will not be able to do this because of knee issues or even some low back issues. So just be careful getting into this position. This is something that we have tried and she is able to do. I'm actually having her come down to her forearms. We have our legs spread out to the side, and she can kind of move back and forth here to feel a little stretch through that groin area, opening up her inner thighs that are getting really tight. She also happens to be tight in her piriformis. So why would we be externally rotating when she's tight in her piriformis? Well, oftentimes when we're tight in one area, we're tight in the opposite muscles as well, and that is the case for her. You can kind of shift your body side to side if that feels good. And then the key is, she said to me, how do I get out of this? If you're on the floor, I'm not going to do it right now, you could bring your body all the way forward onto your stomach. I'm up on my Cadillac, so I'm going to use my arm strength to just walk myself up, and then I'm going to bring in one knee at a time to relax. the upper part of her quad. So you're gonna lie down on a table, and you're gonna be very close to the edge. You might wanna use your opposite hand to hold on to something. If you're on a table or a Cadillac, you can hold on to the left side. If you're on a couch, you can hold on to your pillow. And you're gonna take that right leg down towards the floor, and we're gonna try to bring the leg behind us a little bit so we feel a little stretch. Now, she is tight on the inner part of her quadricep muscle. So kind of in the groin area, but it's actually her quadricep muscle. So I am going to have her make sure she has her tailbone turned under a little bit. The leg is falling towards the floor, and it's turned out a bit as well, so that she feels that tightness start to dissipate, okay? We were working the other day, and she was trying to stretch her piriformis muscle a little bit, and she felt tightness here in the groin, and so we want to make sure that that's relaxed first before we go into our piriformis stretch. Okay, so you can hold these stretches for 20 to 30 seconds. You want to feel like the stretch on a scale of 1 to 10 is more of a 5 or 6, okay? Because we're trying to open up fascia, so we want a very long, light stretch for a longer period. Okay, after that's done, we're gonna bring that leg up. We can go to the other side, and then we can come back to this side. If you'd like, you can pause the video and do that. We're gonna go ahead and sit up now. And I love this stretch because I like to say I'm a pretty flexible person, but I used to train ballet dancers quite a bit at a ballet school where I live. And they were much more flexible than I was. And this stretch was the only stretch that I felt like I could compete because my legs are higher up towards my chest. So again, if you have knee issues, this might not be the best stretch for you. But again, I know my client can do this. We're crossing over our legs. It's more than a crisscross applesauce. My right leg is completely over my left, and it's lifted up towards my chest. I'm going to grow up nice and tall, like my spine is like pillowcases stacked one above the other. And then I'm going to lean forward with a flat back first. And as I lean with a flat back, I want to pull my right hip back and down towards the table. So I feel this oppositional pull. I want to take deep breaths and exhale. Inhale and exhale. I love Eric Franklin's cue of having like a hard sponge inside that hip. And as you breathe, it's like you're sending warm water into that sponge, and that sponge starts opening up, getting really saturated, expanding inside the hip. Images like that can really help you relax that muscle. Then you're going to tip forward and just let your body curl over those legs. And here's where you might actually feel a little flexible if you're not, because you don't have to get your body down to the floor. You just have to bring it to your legs, and you're a little bit closer than any other stretch that you're able to do. Okay, taking deep breaths. I like to sometimes give my clients this cue of breathing and feeling like you're blowing up a balloon inside your hips. So with each breath, that balloon is getting a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger to just open things up inside. Feels so good. We can switch to the left side. You might have more pain on your left side, in which case you would start with the left, do the right, come back to the left. Sorry, we're gonna grow up tall first and then come forward. Oh, this feels so good. Such a great stretch. Obviously, you can take a little bit longer than I did in some of these stretches. I go back and forth as well when I'm trying to gain flexibility. Sometimes they're finding with research that it is better to sometimes just get more of an active stretch. So an active stretch is more of a holding it for 4 seconds and then lengthening up. So you're coming in and out of the stretch. There's so many possibilities when you're stretching the body. You might rotate a little bit side to side and feel deepening in different places. If you find a spot that feels a little bit better, maybe turn to here. Then you listen to your body and you go into those positions. All right, beautiful work. If you have time, you can go back to that tighter side. And that gives you just a little idea of how we open up the back side of our body. And I hope this helped you out today. Again, I'm Rebecca Cook with Bella Pilates. Thank you for joining me.